What's up guys, Houndish here, and in this video, we're gonna jump in with some exciting Destiny 2 and Black Armory stuff to talk about. So we've got a little bit of news to cover, we've got some new exotic rewards, and a loot table of Forge specific rewards which are gonna become available very shortly. There's some pretty cool stuff there. We're also gonna talk about the return of Thorn, and it looks like it's gonna connect to the last word quest that we're seeing soon, and ultimately from what we know, Thorn will return to Destiny 2. I'll explain what I'm on about there in just a moment, but we do have some news roundups from Bungie about power changes in Season of the Drifter, heavy ammo changes, feedback about content for solo players. We'll also talk about the update coming this week, new seasonal loot drops, and a bunch of other stuff, guys. So without further delay, let's get straight into it. So today guys, we're going to talk about some cool stuff. We'll start out with some new exotic quest content coming to Destiny 2. So of course we know that we're going to get the last word. The quest for this will start during January. And going back a little bit, you may remember there were a bunch of leaks about Destiny 2 from a user called Anon9 on Reddit. These leaks actually turned out to be very legitimate. They leaked the Forsaken subclasses before we even saw the reveal for that. They leaked Thunderlord, the last word, the Forges, and they even leaked the specific timing of quest releases, including that the last word would release after the Black Armory, and of course it will be dropping in January, so pretty much everything that they've said has turned out to be correct. Now on top of the returning last word, they also said we will have the Rose in Penumbra after the Thorn is brought back in Joker's Wild. So that's two other weapons. Of course we've never seen the Rose, but it is a weapon associated with Thorn. They have however said that Thorn will be coming back in Joker's Wild, and that's the next major update for Destiny 2. However, the series of events, the long form story that will ultimately have the Thorn return to the game, is actually going to start a lot sooner than we might think. So recently, we've actually seen a bunch of leaks and information about the Last Word quest. We know that there will be a couple of different exotic missions associated with this. So there is one called the Damnation, there is another called the Conversation, but if we look in the database, we can see the interactions that we'll have with the Drifter as part of the quest for the Last Word. Of course, we know that the quest is called the Draw, and these interactions that we're looking at are essentially the dialogue that the Drifter will have during this quest. So initially, we'll uncover some kind of tainted hive artifact, and the Drifter believes it's going to be linked to the Weapons of Sorrow, and he sends us off to restore the tainted artifact by defeating Hive and gathering additional items. And we also have a bunch of data mined items that will be associated with this quest. These could be the materials that the Drifter is talking about collecting. So the two Hive icons are probably the tainted artifact, and then we also have the broken helmet with the Thorn round, which once again links to the weapon. And during this process, we'll end up going through these new missions, and ultimately we'll end up with the last word. There is also some lore that we'll get from Shin Malphur, and he'll essentially be writing letters to us. Shin Malphur is of course a character associated with the last word, and Shin is essentially a mortal enemy of the Drifters. We also learn in the Malfeasance quest that the Renegade Hunters had murdered many of the Drifters' friends, the Shadows of Yore, and if we look at the final set of text for the quest, it says the Drifter is disturbed seeing the last word in your hand, but he is endlessly intrigued by the Hive weapon you uncovered. And it goes on to say, there is still much to learn about the Weapons of Sorrow. Hopefully the trust you've placed in the Drifter will lead to new understandings. Now a lot of you guys have seen this image right here, and you pointed out that the weapon that this Hive Knight is holding is very reminiscent of Thorn. Now this enemy is Enkar, a Hive weapon master, and during the Last Word quest we'll actually have to defeat this enemy in a solo mission. So there will be a fight versus Enkar, and it's a 650 power level fight that you can only do on your own, so it's definitely going to be a pretty tough one. But as Drifter says, we uncover this Hive weapon, so it appears that we may actually collect the weapon that we can see Enkar using right here. And once again, that resemblance to Thorn is absolutely there. Thorn was originally modeled on a Hive boomer, and considering we have a very trustworthy leak that the Thorn is going to return in Joker's Wild, we are going to uncover a Hive weapon and bring it back to the Drifter, and as it says, hopefully the trust you've placed in the Drifter will lead to new understandings. So assuming that Thorn is going to return, it does appear that there is a direct link between the Draw quest and the arrival of the Thorn in the game, which also we need to bear in mind will be just a few weeks later if it does arrive with Joker's Wild. And of course with Shin and the Shadows of Yore being enemies, the two weapons are essentially enemies of each other as well, or at the very least they kind of represent that fight. So I think it's a pretty safe bet at this point that the Hive weapon we uncover will indeed be the beginning of the quest to acquire the Thorn. So let me know your thoughts about that down below, guys. It kind of explains why we're seeing so much Hive activity during the Last Word quest, and also in terms of story and lore, we're definitely going to get some kind of conclusion or next step in the battle between the Drifter and Shin Malphur during Season of the Forge when Joker's Wild launches. So that's pretty exciting stuff, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Now though, let's talk a little bit about the loot table for the Lost Forges. There is actually quite a lot of loot that we'll ultimately end up getting from these forges. Some of it isn't quite available just yet, but let's break down some of the loot and the sources. So of course we have a bunch of forged weapons we've already obtained. There is also a bow, the Spiteful Fang, the pulse rifle, the Blast Furnace, and the Striker's Sure Hand, the sword. With us unlocking the Izanami Forge very soon, we'll obtain at least one, probably two of these weapons, and that also is probably going to mean a third crest unlock for the Volunda Forge in the European Dead Zone. We've spoken about that before. There is, however, a hidden ghost shell, so this isn't previewable in the collection, but it's called the Armory Forged Shell. We can see it on the screen right there. And the source for this is actually the Baguzia Forge. This is a hidden forge we haven't gained access to just yet, but ultimately this exotic will drop from there. There is also the Platinum Starlink, which you can see in the collection, and this apparently will be found in Gafanan Forge Ignitions, although it hasn't dropped just yet, so it appears there is some kind of time gate there, but it looks like that will be updated shortly. Of course, Forge Armor comes from Ada's Weekly. This is the powerful weekly to construct 2 weapon frames. There is also a very low chance of getting Forge Armor from rare Black Armory bounties, so you actually find these when completing forges and other daily bounties. They'll be listed with powerful gear as a reward. You could get any weapon, loot from any other source in the game pretty much, but like I said, there is a low chance to get armor drops as well. There's a Reddit post from Grove that breaks down some of the drop locations for shaders, and these are currently available. So of course you have the very general shaders, New Age Black Armory, as well as Refurbished Black Armory. New Age Black Armory will drop very commonly on any weapon frame weapons, and Refurbished Black Armory can drop on some of the updated Year 1 weapons, which simply drop at the end of forges. The Rasmussen Clan shader has a rare chance to drop on Volunda specific frames, so the Ringing Nail or the Hammerhead, whenever you forge those, you have a chance to get this shader. Then you have to dismantle the weapon for a chance to actually get the shader dropped, so you can reuse it on other things. House of Mayrin shader is able to drop on the Kindled Orchid or the Tatara Gaze, so essentially the Gofanan specific frames. The Sato Tribe shader can drop on Izanami specific frames, and then there is Baguzia Knight, which will be linked to the Baguzia Forge, so if there are any specific weapon frames for that forge, it'll be on those. Then there are emblems. You can see some of these in the collection as well. You'll also notice that there are variants of those. The Vengeance of Volunda variant for the Volunda emblem can be obtained by completing the Master Blaster Triumph, so you can check that triumph out in the collections. That one is actually associated with the Jotun. Gafanan's Hammer can get the Gafanan's Fire variant. This drops from completing the Beautiful but Deadly Triumph. There is Terror of Izanami, and the Blood of Izanami comes from the Reunited Siblings Triumph. There is a hidden Baguzia emblem, and a variant Blade of Baguzia completes the Cleanup on Isle 5 Triumph. Most of those triumphs are associated with forged weapons and exotics. You can see them inside of that Triumph tab if you want to try and get these, but the base emblems once again aren't dropping. It's probably a simple time gate, or perhaps Bungie want us to uncover all forges before these begin dropping, but there is actually quite a lot of specific loot associated with these forges, so I hope this list has been useful, and I'll link Grove's Reddit post down below, as that'll be updated as more stuff is uncovered. Now though, let's round up a bit of new stuff. So Destiny 2 Update 2.1.3 will be arriving this week on December 18th. Bungie haven't given a specific time yet, but I'm going to anticipate it's going to be around about the reset time. Obviously there will be a small download right there. I don't believe there is any planned downtime, but do bear in mind there could be a little bit of interruption as that update goes live across reset. And hopefully we won't have as many issues as we did with the Dawning launching this week. And of course this is when the Izanami Forge opens as well. But Fitzy on Twitter did say, time to start saving powerful bounties and raid keys, and it's just actually hit 650, and of course this time around a lot of players did actually do that. People saved the Iron Banner bounties and got a lot of powerful drops. And DMG has said the team is actively looking at these systems for future seasons, and once a plan is solidified, we will communicate. So essentially Bungie are saying they don't plan on giving players as many opportunities to carry over gear, get very early powerful drops and things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean the power leveling system itself is going to change, but they may seek to limit or remove some of the stuff that we've been able to carry across seasons since Forsaken. Of course, with there being an update this week, DMG did clarify heavy ammo changes for Competitive and Crucible will not be released next week. These changes are expected to be released in January, and you can see some of those changes right there. Updates to the timers and the spawn rates for heavy ammo in Control, Clash, and Survival, and then there will also be different timers for Showdown as well as Rumble. And yes, there will be a general reduction of heavy ammo in PvP. This is an interesting one though. DMG did essentially ask for feedback from solo players about the difficulty of content, how punishing the mechanics can be with multiple characters or duplicate characters, and the balance between players who have a lot of time and maybe who have less time. So find DMG on Twitter if you do want to give any feedback about that. I think there are more positive ways to balance the game for all types of players moving forward, so it's a good time for feedback. While we're on the subject of content coming up over the next few weeks, on December 25th, Iron Banner will come with increased Valor all week long, both double and triple Valor, and this will be the first chance to obtain some of the Season 5 armor right there. We can get a little bit of a closer look, so this is the helmet on the Hunter. The Hunter does have a new cloak as well, which is pretty cool. We've got Warlock helmet and the new Warlock chest piece, which I actually think looks pretty neat. And then finally, we do have the Titan right there with the helmet and the new gauntlets. These are just from the database, so we can't see full armor sets on at the same time, but there'll be some new stuff to hunt there with Iron Banner shortly. In case you're a fan of legendary weapon ornaments, just wanted to point out a few that we can see right here. There's a new one for the Distant Relation. We can see there is a pretty cool red and gold skin right there. Salt in the Fields, which is the Pillager. A lot of these are actual Gambit weapons. A new one for the Over and Done With. Once again, we've got the red and gold skin going on there. But there is also a new kind of blue and gold skin, and you'll be able to drop this one for Bygones, as well as the Parcel of Stardust, and we can see it for the Trust right there as well. For the No Turning Back bow, we also see the red and gold style skin, and then we've got a Bad Run, which is green and gold with some cool icons. So just a quick glimpse at some of those weapon ornaments. I believe you can see them also in the engram for this season. But for today, guys, that is going to summarize the video. So I'd love to hear your thoughts down below about the Thorn. Of course, now that we've seen so much content roll out, so many of those leaks from Anon actually turn out to be true, it adds a lot of weight to what we're talking about right there, and it's starting to become clear exactly what's happening. Good luck if you're grinding the forges. I'll keep you posted with the new one dropping this week. But if you have enjoyed the video, guys, a like is very much appreciated below. If you're new around here, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with Destiny 2 content. My friends over at Gaming Inc. have a new holiday giveaway. There's some pretty cool stuff that they're giving away. A neat PC prize pack with a bunch of cool stuff, PlayStation and Xbox prize packs, as well as Nintendo. And you can get in with a chance to win any of those by following the link down below, and there's a bunch of different ways to enter. So you may as well if you fancy a chance at some cool stuff. As always though, guys, thanks for tuning in. Whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.